Rain, rain, please don't go away, as it's now time for the next race of the Formula 1 season in Canada. And with how boring the last few Grand Prix have been, let's hope that the rain can finally give us something to talk about. This is Connor F1, and this is the 2024 Canadian Grand Prix. So we are back again for the next round of the season, here in the home of the GOAT himself, the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Canada. Rain has again been forecast for the weekend, and knowing this circuit's track record, I think we're probably in for a good one. So just before we get into it, I'd like to say thank you for 180 subscribers. We are just 20 away from 200, so let's see if we can get there by the end of this month. So let's get on with the video. So let's first get into the news off track, where first we have some exciting moves in the driver market, starting with the Red Bull saga of things, with Yuki Tsunoda getting his contract extended until the end of 2026, which is a smart play for the young Japanese driver, because by then, hopefully, Daddy Stroll realizes that having Sir Lancelot in his car isn't exactly a good idea. This has seemingly added more pressure to Daniel Ricciardo, who has now become even more of a Liam Lawson main target to get into Formula 1. But with Perez beginning his usual act of performing badly mid-season, the Honey Badger can still hold on hope for that Red Bull seat. I beg your pardon? So, somehow, Perez was able to sign another 2 years with Red Bull. So either the Red Bull team bosses are masochists who love the pain of watching their cars get destroyed each weekend, or they really don't trust their junior driver program at all. In other news, after the whole jumping cars incident that happened in Monaco between the Alpines, Ocon has been dropped by Alpine for next year. And though it was probably coming, with how many times he's hit or almost hit his teammate over the years, it really does make you think, K-Mag Ocon at Haas? Yes, please. The 2026 regulations have also come out as well, with active aero, removing the front wheel flaps, and with the cars becoming smaller and lighter, meaning that the Alpine for 2026 will probably just be a black car with no sponsors on it. Also, the FIA technical director has stated that the cars are lighter, more powerful, and more focused on driver skill. Driver skill, hey? So that means Lance Stroll will be out of his seat by 2026. Nice. So finally, onto the action on track with FP1. And there has already been a rain delay. Okay, here we go. After this quick break, #Bless was the first to make his way out to the track, waving at the fans that will soon see their home inbred crash into another car. Some changes have been made to the track, with the whole track being resurfaced. And if 2020 Turkey and China this year taught us anything, wet track, new surface, some shit's gonna go down. And look, there's Zhou showing us exactly what I mean. Zhou would hit the wall, bringing out the red flag, which will be not the first time we see a Sauber spinning off this weekend. The other change has been to the runoff of turn 8 and 9, where it has been changed to grass to stop drivers from going straight on and gaining time. But this driver still wanted to do that anyway. Ricciardo kicked up some water, with his old teammate Verstappen doing the exact same, just testing the line out for Perez it seems. Stroll would also join them, and Sargent would have as well, but remembered whose car truly was owned by, so out of respect went the long way around. Bottas would also do some bowling practice by giving his car a spin through the grass, and knowing Bottas' stance in the rain, I think we might be on for something here. After the whole Ocon thing, Alpine wanted to begin testing out some new drivers as early as possible, so Jack Doohan was given a chance to just show how good he worked with Alpine by only completing 2 outlaps before the end of the day. The end of the session would have the track drying up a bit, so the drivers would bring out the soft tyres, with Norris topping the timing sheets. But with this weekend shaping up to be what it is, this really doesn't mean anything. FP2 would start with every car trying to get more soft tyre laps in, as more rain was forecasted for later in the day. Though maybe the soft tyres weren't the right choice for Magnussen, as he would drift off at the chicane just like everyone else last session. Though at least he was on the right tyre in the rules, as Ferrari did a Ferrari and put Leclerc out on inters even though the track hadn't been given the wet light yet. The hairpin would see some of the weirdest things ever, with 4 cars going off one after another. Though with Stroll being the first one, The other drivers probably just wanted to make sure he felt at home, as his fans probably don't want him. The Canadian gods just must have wanted some more chaos this weekend, as they started putting random animals out on track again, as a marmot almost tried to jump in front of Sainz at the final chicane. Though, if it had meant he would have gone into the Wall of Champions, I think Sainz would have hit it. Traffic then became a problem on track, as the Ferraris would first hold up Hamilton, then Hamilton would block the Ferraris, before the Ferraris would then block Albon on a track, who, after complaining about the Ferraris, would drift his car through the exit at the chicane, somehow not hitting the Wall of Champions. The rain would now begin to fall, as Leclerc used it to do a donut at turn 10, which was probably because of the speedy Alonso ahead of him, who would then top the session, with Russell almost 4 tenths behind in second, with Stroll in third, so you really know this session means nothing. So, after a pretty good first day on track with some pretty good mixed conditions, the best next thing to do would be to listen to Jacques Villeneuve and whatever his opinions are this weekend, because that's never gone wrong in the past before, and it seems that he's wondering why Ricciardo still has a spot in Formula 1. Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. FP3 would be the first full dry session of the weekend, with every car trying to keep it clean, until Zhou realised he couldn't keep his car going in a straight line on the wet, or the dry, and spun it at turn 2. Verstappen was the first out on track, but with his steering acting up, he could be on for another non-Dutch national anthem race. But we shouldn't get our hopes up, as Verstappen would hit the Wall of Champions, but so did Albon. So, Albon World Championship for 2026, anyone? Many cars were going off. Piastri went straight at the final chicane, and Bottas almost finished his bowling skills earlier by giving Norris a scare. Montreal traffic was again a problem, as Perez would get held up by Hulkenberg, Gasly would piss off Sainz, and Logan Sargent would have some fun with McLaren, leaving a marmot-sized shit on the straight before a real one showed up again, this time at turn 3, giving Ricciardo some of that Canadian luck for this weekend. Hamilton topped the session, with Verstappen behind by 3 tenths and Russell in third. So going into qualifying, it seems that we should really be on for some fun shenanigans. In Q1, the last runs of the session would begin to show us a story for the weekend, with both Ferraris pushing the limit of the knockout zone, but were able to get through by the end of the session. Perez would also see himself in the knockout zone early on, but was able to get his car out of the knockout zone, so he should be fine. Verstappen also found himself close to the knockout zone. Not a sentence I thought I'd be saying this year, but was able to get through easily. Not as easily though as Albon getting his Williams into Q2, with Sargent using his car's Canadian powers to get it into P7. Again, didn't think I'd be saying that this season. Ricciardo would also be able to get into Q2, so this would leave both state cars out in Q1, Ocon really not caring now, hey, Hulkenberg and Perez? Okay, then I guess I was wrong when I said he was safe, but at least he's putting that new Red Bull contract to good use, eh? Yeah, you hit that halo, you know what you did. On to Q2, where nothing really out of place happened, with the usual drivers getting through, with both V-Carbs getting through nicely, with the Silver Arrows finally showing some pace for the first time this season, getting right up to the top of the table. This would leave Gasly, Magnussen, Sargent, and both Ferraris out in Q2. Wait, what? Yep, both Ferraris out in Q2, going from the top to the bottom within a couple weeks. Man, it feels good to see the old Ferrari back, eh? So finally, onto the Q3 with the first runs, as Verstappen would first go faster than McLaren's by a good bit. So we again sat back to watch a Verstappen pole for the year. But who would have seen George Russell jumping up the order to take provisional pole for the time being, with Hamilton backing up his teammate in second. So into the final runs, everything was in Verstappen's court. Could he do what he's done so many times before and get his car onto the top of the timing sheets? Or would he be outpaced by the Silver Arrows? Verstappen would push his car to the edge until he would cross the line to get the exact same lap time as Russell, a 1.12 on the dot. What the fuck is going on this weekend? So, as the grid would line up with Russell on pole, with Verstappen in second as he got his time in after Russell, with Hamilton not being able to show his car's speed, with him dropping down to 7th behind the McLarens, Alonso, who's finally back from his nap to beat Stroll, and Daniel Ricciardo. Okay. It was pissing down before the start of the Grand Prix, but most of the teams decided to put on the inters and hoped their drivers didn't do a yo before the rain lightened up. But the Haas team thought it'd be a good idea to put their drivers on the wets, and knowing Haas, this is not going to work out for them. At the start, Russell would keep ahead of Verstappen into turn 1, as Daniel Ricciardo dropped down behind #Blessed and the Lord of the Eyebrows, so Villeneuve could actually be right about something for once. At the back, Gasly was fighting to keep his place, so when he saw a slow-moving Perez next to him, he used some of his teammates' skills to give Perez an excuse for his pace this weekend. By the end of lap 1, K-Mag had somehow found himself all the way up to 7th thanks to his wet tyres, so I'm just eating my words right now. So as he continued to get past the cars with ease, probably just the other drivers making sure that they let K-Mag pass before he got dive-bombed into nothing. Max would try to push to try to get ahead of Russell, but would go off at turn 1. Hamilton would also find himself stuck behind Alonso and would fail to get past before taking the Verstappen line at turn 1. And by the end of lap 8, the Haas drivers would finally end their fun in P4 and P8 respectively, with Madison finally pitting, but with the Haas pit crew thinking about doing a staked pit stop by not having the tyres ready, so all that work would be for nothing. Also, an update on the Honey Badger, he was still in 7th, but now had a penalty for a false start, so it's not exactly looking good for us Villeneuve haters. With Verstappen and Russell failing to use their inters well, Norris would once again bring some hope to the fans by overtaking Max cleanly and then overtaking Russell for the lead, giving Russell a fright as to go off the track. This would then allow Verstappen to get past into 2nd. The rain would continue to get lighter, so the drivers began to increase the pace, with Norris pulling a 9-second lead, which must have been too much for poor Loki Bear, as he spun off in the front of the leaders, breaking his car and bringing out the safety car. This safety car would completely destroy Lando's race, as he wouldn't be able to get into the pits and was forced to do another lap as Verstappen and Russell would pit, with Verstappen just being able to get out ahead. So as Lando would pit and then came out just behind Russell in 3rd, all eyes looked to the Ferrari of Leclerc, as the team was still trying to learn from their mistake in practice by putting on the dry tyres, but this time it was a bit too early. The cars will restart with the drivers holding station, which might have been too much to say for Leclerc, who was sliding around so much he would get lapped by the leaders, leaving him pitting and retiring the car. So hopefully the Tifosi's numbers are still the same by next weekend. This restart would also help Albon get past both Ocon and Ricky Bobby in one clean move, so it seems that Villeneuve has paid off the Williams team. Max would continue to hold on, as he would believe it was still too early for drier tyres, so just to spite him, the rest of the field would pit for dries. The pits would again be the main place of fighting for the leaders, as both Max and Russell would pit for mediums, as Lando would try and go for the overcut, which seemed to work at first, before Lando tried to do a Gasly on Max, but failed, letting the Dutchman through. With this, Max would begin his usual act of running into the sunset, as the battle for 2nd would begin to heat up, but not before Perez would remind us that he was still in this race by spinning and breaking his rear wing. He would be joined by Carlos Sainz, who must have wanted to add to the number of Tifosi would lose this weekend by spinning off, taking Alex Albon with him. This would lead to the final safety car, where the cars would hold station at the start, as Max would run away. Piastri, who had now found himself in 3rd, would try to hold off Russell, but he must have forgotten who he was racing against here, as Russell would make contact with Oscar, with George coming off the worst, as Hamilton would finally make his showing for once and get past into 4th. He would take this place and begin to fight with Piastri, and unlike his teammate, would pass him cleanly, which would also allow Russell to get that pass as well. So with Max doing a Max, and Lando holding 2nd, we would get to see the infighting at Mercedes, as Russell would get back himself into the 3rd by overtaking his teammate, who almost got back, but realised this meant nothing for him in the contract-wise, so just let it be. And with that, Max Verstappen would cross the line to win yet another Grand Prix. And though it has been a bit of a while since his last one, this one was well damn deserved. So that was the Canadian Grand Prix. Apologies for this one coming out as late as it did. Work's been a bit of a pain in the ass for me and I've had no motivation lately. But if you make sure to like and subscribe, I'll feel a lot better about myself. But also, you'll make sure that you come up to date when I release my video on the Spanish Grand Prix that's happening this weekend. So please make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss the video. I've been Connor, signing out.